30 things from the 1970s that are no longer allowed today. Number 18 will surprise you. Do you remember a childhood of freedom, unbounded by technology or constant supervision? The 1970s was a completely different world, where kids ran free, TV shows aired on schedule instead of being streamed, and the rules seemed much more relaxed. But as time passed, many of those things have vanished. Join us as we journey back in time and discover 30 things from the 70s that are no longer allowed or have completely changed today. Prank calls. Back in the day, before digital technology became an indispensable part of life, the landline phone with its rotary dial was the main tool for communication. In the 70s, one of the most common and harmless pastimes for kids and teens was making prank calls. Without caller ID, the anonymity allowed these calls to become a playground for creativity and sometimes innocent jokes. These might be silly questions like, "Is an IP freely there?" Or fake conversations with the sole purpose of eliciting giggles or a bit of confusion from the receiver. The thrill of waiting for someone to pick up and their reaction was a crucial part of the fun. Today, with the widespread use of mobile phones and caller ID, such prank calls have not only lost their appeal, but can also be considered harassment and easily traced. Technology has completely changed how we interact, taking away some of the freedom and harmlessness of this game, turning it into an activity that can't be done or isn't acceptable. Toilet papering, TPing. Toilet papering, or TPing, was a form of teenage street art in the 70s, showcasing harmless rebellion and group solidarity. The goal was to decorate friends, or sometimes friendly foes, homes, trees, or cars by throwing rolls of toilet paper high up, creating fluttering white streamers everywhere. This was a stealthy activity, often done at night, bringing a sense of thrill and excitement to the deed. After a successful night of TPing, the snow-covered scene the next morning often brought laughter and no lasting damage, simply a small cleanup job. It was considered a prank, a hallmark of youth. Now, the development of surveillance technology has made this prank almost impossible to do anonymously. Security cameras, smart doorbells with integrated cameras, and alarm systems are ubiquitous, turning a harmless prank into an activity that can be recorded and lead to more serious consequences. Riding bikes after school. In the 70s, many children's childhoods were intrinsically linked to bicycles and the open road. After school, there were no set plans or fixed schedules. Kids simply hopped on their bikes and rode all over the neighborhood. This freedom lasted until the streetlights came on, signaling it was time to head home. These rides weren't just a means of transport, but adventures, a way to explore the surrounding world, meet friends, or simply feel the wind in their hair. No GPS, no mobile phones for parents to constantly check location. Trust and self-reliance were core values. Parents trusted their children to know how to protect themselves and get home on time. This absolute freedom is rarely seen today. Concerns about safety, heavy traffic, and the prevalence of scheduled activities have significantly limited the time and space for such spontaneous bike rides. Today, every trip children take is usually planned and closely supervised, somewhat depriving them of the carefree spirit of childhood past. Exploring the great outdoors. The playground for kids in the 70s wasn't pre-designed play areas or digital screens, but the vast natural world all around them. From dawn till dusk, children freely explored nearby woods, built secret forts in dense bushes, or simply played in neighbors' yards. Trees, ponds, and empty lots all became settings for endless adventures. Direct interaction with nature not only developed physical health, but also nurtured imagination and problem-solving skills. Kids learn to adapt, explore, and overcome small challenges without constant adult intervention. Today, this scene has changed significantly. Outdoor activities often have specific schedules, are organized or closely supervised. Time for free exploration is narrowed by packed academic schedules, extracurricular classes, and the dominance of digital devices. Safety concerns also contribute to limiting children from freely wandering and exploring without adult supervision. No helmets, no fear. In the 70s, the image of children riding bikes or skateboarding without helmets was an incredibly common and normal sight. The bicycle symbolized freedom and independence, and wearing a helmet hadn't even crossed most people's minds. Kids ran, jumped, and played with a fearless spirit, ready to face small scrapes or bruises as an inevitable part of growing up. Falling wasn't too serious. Often just a band-aid or a kiss from mom was enough to continue playing. The absence of strict safety regulations created an environment that allowed children to freely experience and learn from their mistakes. Currently, this perspective has completely changed. Helmets are not just a recommendation, but a mandatory requirement for many activities. Continuous parental supervision and the development of communication technology make it easy for parents to check and intervene, ensuring maximum safety for their children. While this helps reduce the risk of injury, it also deprives children of some of the freedom and fearless feeling of childhood past. Parents were less blamed. In the 70s, when a child misbehaved, caused trouble, or made a small mistake, societies and parents' attitudes often considered it a natural part of growing up. A stain on clothes, a prank that went a bit too far, or a small scuffle with friends was often viewed in the context of the child learning and exploring the world around them. Communities tended to support each other in raising children, and parents' responsibility was generally understood as providing a safe environment and basic education rather than controlling every aspect of their child's behavior. Child development was seen more holistically, accepting trials and errors. Today, the situation is distinctly different. When a child causes a problem, there's often an assumption that it's the parent's fault. They are criticized for lack of supervision, education, or proper discipline. Societal pressure on parents has significantly increased, demanding they take full responsibility for all their children's actions, no matter how small. This creates a huge burden on parents and changes how society views their role in raising children. Trampolines without safety nets. Trampolines in the 70s were a symbol of boundless fun and a touch of daring. Back then, trampolines usually didn't have safety nets, offering a much greater sense of thrill and freedom, as players could jump high and try acrobatics without limits. Although this could lead to many bruises, sprains, or even fractures, these risks didn't seem to deter thrill-seeking kids. Falling off the mat was part of the game, and lessons about caution were often learned from these very experiences. Today, safety standards have significantly increased. Modern trampolines are fully equipped with safety features like surrounding nets, spring pads, and detailed user manuals, aiming to minimize injury risks. While this makes playing on a trampoline much safer, for many adults who grew up in the 70s, it lacks some of the thrill and wild sense of adventure they once experienced. Absolute safety has replaced some of the free-spirited fun of yesteryear. Going to camp without a stack of paperwork. In the 70s, registering a child for summer camp was surprisingly simple. Often just one or two basic forms filled out and signed by a parent were enough. Summer camps focused on providing an environment for fun, learning survival skills, and offering children opportunities to connect with nature and friends without overemphasizing complex administrative procedures. Trust between parents and camp organizers was very high. Parents trusted the camp to care for their children best, and the camp trusted basic health information was sufficient for management. Today, everything has completely changed. A summer camp now comes with a thick stack of paperwork, including detailed medical forms, liability waivers, emergency contact information, immunization history, and sometimes even behavior management plans. The main reason for this change is the increasing concern for safety and legal liability. Stricter regulations and the rise of lawsuits have forced organizations to protect themselves by collecting all necessary information and ensuring all risks are documented. This makes the registration process much more cumbersome, but also provides a legal safety net for all parties involved. If you could choose one thing from your 70s childhood to bring back today, what would it be and why? Attending the neighborhood school. The concept of the neighborhood school was truly a solid foundation. Most children simply attended the school closest to their home, fostering strong and familiar community relationships. Walking or biking to school with neighborhood friends was an indispensable part of childhood. The school wasn't just a place for learning, but also the center of the residential area, where families knew each other and participated in events and activities together. The connection between school and family was very close, built on trust and familiarity. Currently, this model has shifted significantly. Instead of just choosing the nearest school, parents today often seek the best school for their children, regardless of geographical distance. This leads to students traveling further, sometimes across different areas, weakening traditional community ties. Factors like school rankings, specialized curricula, and test scores have become top priorities, surpassing the importance of neighborhood connection. Getting in trouble on the bus. The school bus was a small kingdom for students, and if you caused trouble on it, you were primarily responsible. Bus drivers often had high autonomy in managing student behavior, and their word was respected. Being disciplined by the bus driver usually meant you would face angry parents when you got home, rather than the bus driver being reprimanded or having to explain themselves. This was part of a system where children were expected to take responsibility for their actions, and adults around them, whether bus drivers or teachers, had the right to intervene and discipline when necessary. Today, the role of bus drivers has become much more complex. Bus drivers face greater pressure in managing student behavior, while also having to adhere to many school regulations and policies. Any incident on the bus can lead to the driver facing complaints from parents, investigations from the school, and even legal issues. This environment has changed the authority and responsibilities of bus drivers, making them more cautious in all their actions and words. Misbehaving meant facing angry parents. In the 70s, the line between causing trouble at school and consequences at home was very clear and often unavoidable. If you were disciplined at school for bad behavior, the first thing you feared wasn't the teacher or principal, but your parents' anger when the story reached their ears. Parents generally trusted the school's judgment and would quickly impose appropriate punishments at home, which could include grounding, cutting allowance, or a small spanking. This was intended to teach children about responsibility and the consequences of wrongdoing. Currently, the relationship between school and parents in terms of discipline has significantly changed. Instead of being one-sided, the current trend is closer cooperation between school and parents to address behavioral issues. Parents tend to want to understand the root cause of the problem more deeply and work with teachers to find solutions rather than simply punishing. This creates a more educational and supportive approach, but it might also reduce the sense of immediate fear and discipline that previous generations experienced. An F in school meant a serious talk. An F, usually the lowest grade, equivalent to failing, on an academic report card was an extremely serious and not to be taken lightly matter. It wasn't just a number, but a red flag leading to a serious and often tense conversation with parents. This conversation usually revolved around the importance of effort, academic responsibility, and future direction. Parents expected their children to try their best and would implement measures such as limiting playtime, increasing study time, or seeking help to improve the situation. The main concern was academic results and fostering a serious attitude towards learning. Today, the approach to failing grades has become more multifaceted. Parents can engage more with teachers to understand the deeper reasons behind poor grades, which could be teaching methods, academic pressure, or personal issues the student is facing. Instead of focusing solely on punishment, there's a trend towards collaborative problem solving, seeking supportive solutions like tutoring, remedial programs, or adjusting learning methods. This shows a shift from mere discipline to a more comprehensive approach to addressing student academic problems. Chores like dishwashing taught responsibility. Chores weren't just a list of tasks to complete, they were an important part of educating children about responsibility and contributing to the family. Washing dishes, sweeping floors, or tidying the yard wasn't just work, but a way for children to understand the value of labor and their role within a collective. Doing chores together often led to fun moments and teamwork, where siblings could chat and help each other. It was a practical lesson that every family member had to pitch in to build a home, and the effort of each individual would create a good living environment for the whole family. Rewards for good behavior at the grocery store. In the 70s, behaving well while grocery shopping with parents was often recognized and rewarded in a special way. It might be a candy bar, a balloon, or being allowed to pick out a small toy from the checkout aisle. What was important was that these rewards weren't just material gifts, but also acts of independence, making children feel older and trusted. It taught children the value of good behavior, patience, and proper conduct in public. The anticipation of that small reward motivated children to be obedient and well-behaved throughout the long shopping trip. Do you think less parental intervention in small issues helped us become more independent? Comment yes or no below. Metal lunchboxes. Metal lunchboxes featuring superheroes or favorite cartoon characters were an indispensable item for every school kid in the 70s. From Superman to Charlie Brown, these boxes weren't just for carrying food, but also personal symbols, showcasing each child's interests and personality. They were designed to withstand the bumps and scrapes of school life, from accidental drops to being used as weapons in imaginary battles. After each meal, the scent of the food lingered, bringing back memories of school lunch and stories shared with friends. Vacations and family adventures. Vacations weren't about checking into luxurious resorts or posting photos on social media. They were about real adventures and family bonding. Families often chose to explore nature, camp in the woods, hike mountains, or go on long walks. These trips were usually less detailed in planning, focusing instead on creating memories undisturbed by technology or work. The whole family would set up tents together, cook outdoors, tell stories by the campfire, and gaze at the night sky. These were simple but incredibly precious moments where everyone truly connected, without phones, TVs, or tablets to distract them. These undistracted moments are priceless today. In the modern world with the explosion of technology, finding vacations completely disconnected from screens has become more difficult. Although camping trips still exist, the frequency and level of unplugging might not be what they once were, as the temptation of electronic devices is always present. Birthday parties were a whole lot of fun. Birthday parties in the 70s were big, simple, and full of joy. Instead of extravagant parties at rented venues, birthdays usually took place at home, with friends, family, and plenty of laughter. Traditional games like pin the tail on the donkey, musical chairs, or simply running around and playing in the yard were the main activities. Homemade cakes, carefully wrapped small gifts, and sincere wishes were the highlights. These parties created special memories, not just for the birthday child, but for everyone involved. They emphasized community bonding and the joy of direct interactions, uninterrupted by screens or complex elements. While parties today are still fun, the trend towards more elaborate and structured activities might alter the natural, free-spirited essence of 70s birthday parties. A scrape or two? No big deal. In the 70s, it was perfectly normal for children to have a few scrapes, bruises, or even a sprained knee after a long day of playing outdoors. These minor injuries were considered evidence of an active and adventurous childhood. Parents didn't overreact. Instead, they would simply clean the wound with alcohol or hydrogen peroxide, apply a bandage, and allow the child to continue playing. There were no emergency trips to the ER for minor injuries, and no excessive worry about risks. Trust in the body's self-healing ability and children's resilience was very high. This no-big-deal attitude has significantly changed today. With the increase in medical information, concerns about bacteria, infections, and potential injuries have made parents much more cautious. Even a small scratch can lead to thorough disinfection, continuous checks, and sometimes a doctor's visit. While this ensures safety, it also somewhat takes away the freedom and sense of immunity of childhood past. The best part of the weekend: Saturday morning cartoons. Saturday mornings were sacred for kids, an indispensable weekend ritual. It was the golden age of cartoons, with a host of legendary shows like Scooby-Doo, The Jetsons, and Super Friends. Kids would wake up early, pour themselves a bowl of cereal, and glue their eyes to the black and white or color TV screen, immersing themselves in a world of adventures, funny characters, and captivating stories. There were no rewind or streaming options. If you missed an episode, you had to wait until next week, creating a special anticipation. This scheduled and communal entertainment time has now been completely replaced by streaming services. With Netflix, Disney Plus, and YouTube, children can watch any show, anytime, making the concept of Saturday morning cartoons a relic of the past. The convenience of technology has replaced the anticipation and the special feeling of enjoying a show simultaneously with millions of other kids across the country. Friends made every day better. In the 70s, having friends over after school or on weekends was incredibly important. With no smartphones or online video games to keep everyone connected remotely, gathering in person was the primary way to maintain friendships. There was always something fun to do: building forts, playing hide and seek, riding bikes, or simply hanging out and sharing stories. These play sessions not only strengthened friendships but also were a place to share laughter, discover new things, and learn social skills through direct interaction. Having a gang of friends was central to childhood, where the most beautiful memories were created. These play sessions strengthened friendships and shared laughter, but the mode of interaction has changed. Among the things we've just listed, which one do you remember most and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Teenagers and their record collections. For teenagers in the 70s, music was everything, and the center of that musical world was their vinyl record collection. Owning vinyl records wasn't just a passion, but a lifestyle, a personal statement. Teens spent hours scouring record stores, discovering new artists, and meticulously caring for their collections. Each vinyl record contained not just music, but also a work of art with elaborately designed covers, printed lyrics inside, and the physical sensation of holding it. Listening to music from vinyl wasn't just hearing, it was a ritualistic experience. Placing the record on the turntable, carefully lowering the needle, and immersing oneself in the warm, raw sound. Vinyl wasn't just music, it was a lifestyle that has significantly changed. Sleepovers were filled with adventure. A sleepover in the 70s was a true adventure full of fun and shared secrets. Kids would gather at a friend's house, bringing sleeping bags, pillows, and favorite snacks. The whole night was for endless conversations, telling ghost stories, playing board games, or watching late-night movies on an old TV. There were no smartphones or social media to distract. Interaction was direct and genuine. Sleepovers were where friendships were strengthened, secrets were shared, and mischievous plans were hatched. These were moments that created lifelong memories with friends, bonding relationships deeply and meaningfully. They created lifelong memories with friends, but the frequency and form have changed. Family dinners meant more than just eating. In the 70s, family dinner wasn't just a time to refuel after a long day. It was a sacred tradition and the most important moment of the day for everyone to connect. Undistracted by phones, tablets, or even TV, which was usually off during meals, the whole family gathered around the dinner table, sharing about their day. It was a time for parents to listen to their children's stories about school, friends, and what had happened. It was also when children learned about social norms, table manners, and the importance of listening. This tradition fostered strong family relationships, creating a safe and warm space for communication and bonding. Grocery Day was a family event. Grocery shopping wasn't just a chore, it was often a true family event, bringing joy and excitement. Children participated in the process, pushing carts, helping parents select items, and sometimes being allowed to choose their favorite snacks. Supermarkets back then often had free samples or even small performances, turning shopping into an entertaining experience. It was an opportunity for children to learn about food types, meal planning, and money management. Moreover, it was quality time the whole family spent together, accomplishing a shared task and creating memories. Free samples and performances turned it into a community experience, something rarely seen today. With the advent of large supermarkets, online shopping, and personalized schedules, the practice of the whole family going grocery shopping together has become less common. Station wagons were a thing. In the 70s, station wagons weren't just a mode of transportation, but an indispensable symbol of American family life. These spacious cars with rear seats that could fold down or face backward were perfect for long road trips, camping excursions, or simply driving the whole family to the grocery store. They were likened to mobile living rooms, where children could play, read, or even nap during trips. The generous space in the back allowed for plenty of luggage and gear for outdoor activities. As symbols of family life and road trip memories, station wagons became a part of the culture. Snacks in the car used to be a road trip tradition. Long car trips in the 70s were often made much more enjoyable thanks to the tradition of bringing along countless snacks. Before hitting the road, preparing a bag or box full of cookies, potato chips, candy, and soda was a ritual. There were no strict rules about eating in the car, and snacks falling onto the seats or floor was considered part of the adventure. These treats not only helped ward off boredom, but also created fun and relaxed moments on the road. Sharing a bag of chips or a can of soda with siblings in the back seat was part of the experience. It wasn't just about the destination, it was the small moments on the road that became unforgettable memories. Affordable treats were everywhere. In the 70s, snacks and sweets were not only common, but also very affordable. Buying a candy bar, a small bag of chips, or an ice cream cone from a street vendor didn't cost much, making it easy for parents to buy for their children without much thought about the expense. This brought simple joy to families and allowed children to enjoy their favorite treats regularly. Convenience stores and small general stores always had these items available, becoming familiar stops after school or on weekends. This brought joy to families and was a part of daily life. Outdoor fashion was all about freedom. Outdoor fashion in the 70s was defined by comfort and freedom of movement, especially for children. Bell-bottom or straight-leg jeans, loose t-shirts, and simple sneakers were the most common attire for outdoor activities. There weren't too many layers of protection or complex safety gear. Clothing was chosen to allow children to run, climb, and explore without restriction. Cotton and denim were staple materials, both durable and comfortable. Most importantly was the feeling of comfort and the ability to express oneself freely. Safety equipment came later, but initially it was about a feeling of freedom. Today, with the development of extreme sports and concerns about injuries, outdoor fashion often comes with specialized safety equipment like helmets, elbow knee pads, and protective clothing. While this enhances safety, it also changes the nature of the freedom fashion that the 70s once had. Forts were a world of their own. For children in the 70s, forts, whether built from blankets and pillows indoors or from branches and planks in the backyard, were sacred spaces where imagination soared without limits. These cozy hideouts could transform into magnificent castles, mighty pirate ships, or secret superhero headquarters. Without adult intervention or technology, children were free to create, build, and manage their own worlds. It was where adventures unfolded, where secrets were kept, and where dreams became reality in rich imagination. Building forts wasn't just a game, but also a lesson in problem-solving, cooperation, and self-reliance. These forts were a world of their own, where imagination was nurtured. Sports were everywhere. In the 70s, sports were an indispensable part of childhood, whether in organized teams or just spontaneous games on the street. Children always found ways to play sports outdoors, from baseball and soccer to basketball. Games didn't require professional referees or standardized fields. An empty street, a schoolyard, or an open lot could all become a playground. Most important was the joy of physical activity, healthy competition, and teamwork. Every child could participate, regardless of skill, and the main goal was to have fun. Today, there's more structure and pressure around children's sports. Sports are often more tightly organized, with leagues, professional coaches, and packed training schedules. The pressure for achievement and the professionalization of children's sports have changed the spontaneous, joyful nature of games from the past. Finding a spontaneous game is now more difficult, as many children participate in specific scheduled activities. Children's lives are shaped by the environment they grow up in. The 70s were different, with lots of time outdoors, family bonding, and simple joys. Today, children are more globally connected, learning rapidly through technology. What's important is finding a balance between real life and digital experiences. We hope this trip down memory lane brought back many emotions for you. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow 70s generation friends. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.